Salutations, Imperial citizens and battle brothers. Salutations, Jazz. Salutations, Dog. Hello, Devorn. Welcome to the new tier list. We are just about in here. All of the chats are hopefully working. Let's see if we can figure that out. The Ultramarines live again. Here we go. Yes, it works. So the YouTube chat and the Twitch chat are both online. We are successfully influencer maxing. And here we go. All right. Welcome to another Ultramarines tier list. This is the job I chose to work on. And that job is I will talk about the 91 datasheets Ultramarines have and can play in Warhammer 40k. This is a competitive tier list. We are only judging units by how they perform in a tournament setting. So if you play to win and you play to go to actual tournaments, this is useful for you. This is not a Crusade review. This is not a how do I say it? A review on how cool the units look, because there are plenty of really good looking units that are completely terrible on the table. But what does that actually mean? Here we go. Can I should probably zoom on the tiers a little bit. First, I will explain the tiers. I will be sorting all of these datasheets into this tier list according to the following criteria, with S tier being the best tier and F tier being the worst tier. S tier are the main characters. In S tier are all the datasheets you pretty much see in every single list you play. This is basically what it is. All of your auto includes or close to auto includes go into this tier. A tier is the best of the best. All of the units in A tier are units that are really, really good, and you see them in most armies, but there could be a reason why you don't take them. B is good in certain situations. Units in B tier are frequently seen in competitive lists, but they are not necessary, or they are only good in one type of list. This would be for example something I will bring up later, a unit that is only good in one detachment, pretty much. We get a bunch of guests in the chat. Salutations, Halo. Yeah, we were getting some really good guesses here in the chats. Jaderite, welcome. Vulcan is the best Ultramarine. That's what you said. C tier. Units in C tier are not unplayable, but there is something wrong with them. They are either too expensive, or their special rules don't work, or they have a direct competitor that just outclasses them in every way. Something is wrong with this unit. If that one thing was fixed, that unit would be better. D tier is garbage. The units in D tier are unplayable, and you should never take them in any list. That's what that is. All right, let me just go right there. Just need to, yeah, okay. I have all of the chats open, and F tier is the aircraft and fortifications tier. And for the first time ever, Battle Brothers, please, I will just take this away. So for the first time, I will just break the order here, and here we go. Okay. We're just gonna do that, and we will not spend any time talking about these models. Aircraft and fortifications are datasheets Games Workshop doesn't want to be played because they are terrible for the health of the game, so they make them bad on purpose and they will never be good. I don't have to explain to you what these units do because you will never use them and you will never see them in a tournament. Great, we got that out of the way. The bottom tier, right here, is the Yap station, and this is basically where I will be putting a data sheet so that the people looking at the stream or the video can see what I'm talking about. So this tier list will involve a lot of molding, a lot of salt. I will probably cough a whole lot because man, winter has hit me pretty hard. And here we go. Devon, I saw it. Ines was running 2 Repacks and 2 Redemptors. But keep in mind that list was before the nerf. That list didn't include the nerfs. Hello, level lethal. Welcome to the stream. Yes, it was a Victrix guard pre-nerf list. But let's get into the whole thing. Alright. As always, I will be going in codex order. Not really. I'm basically going in categories. So I'm going characters, then infantry, and the infantry is rated where like the battle line first, and then we have the all the sneaky units and so on. So this is basically what it is. I will once again after the tier list is done, I will post a picture on my channel with all of the names of every unit on it. So you don't have to zoom in and figure out what that thing is. Alright. We are starting with Robute Gilliman. Since the last time we talked, Gilliman went up in points. That is something that happened. He went up 20 points. And what did he get for it? Nothing, pretty much. Since then, a new detachment came out, which gives benefits to the other character. Salutations, Eru V6J. Welcome to the chat. Liam Donnelly, thanks for showing up. Oh yeah, Gilliman is still in S tier. So he's going in S tier. We don't have to talk about much why. He is the reason why people hate Ultramarines, mostly in playing against them, because he makes the damage output just flow. I would like to give an addendum though. I think the order in which the 2 epic heroes were good is now reversed. I think last time we were better off on Calgar, and this time I think we're better off on Gilliman, and the reason for that is the detachment, and I will be talking about that in 1 second. Let me just pull up the old tier list for a second. What does that? Where's the old tier list? Just so I can look at what I did last time. Yes, I'm pretty sure that was the last tier list. Let me pull it up. Window. Here we go. So if I need to get the old tier list for a comparison, I have it right here. And in the last tier list, Gilliman was top of S tier. So yeah, Gilliman is really good. He hits hard in melee. He gives you the double oath. He makes your strats cheaper. He's really good at manipulating OC. And the OC manipulation is actually really important if you want to play fixed in the game. Because if you want to play fixed, Gilliman can help you with Storm Hostile Objective a tremendous amount, because your opponent cannot tie you on objective to prevent Hostile Objective, because you will just activate the aura and then outscore your opponent for primary, so they have to take the objective away from you, in which case you can score a Storm Hostile Objective. So that is something I figured out a while ago, but I just wanted to mention it. S tier for sure. Next, we have Marneus Calgar, which is the classic Marneus Calgar. We have the Marneus Calgar in the armor of Antilochus. Here we go. Yes, okay. So, let's talk about this. First, here we go. Calgar would be better by comparison. Still the best data sheets. Yeah, let's talk about this right now. All right. Don't guys, don't bother talking about the Oath of Moment stuff. We don't have to talk about a scenario that isn't real right now. The +1 to wound might disappear one day, but there's no reason to talk about that in this tier list because right now it's here, so we have to use it. Calgar in Gravis armor, which is the normal Marneus Calgar. He didn't go up at all. He gives you 2 extra bodyguards with a 4-up invuln, which give him a 4-up feel no pain in return for as long as one of them is alive. Calgar hits really hard in combat, and he gives you access to the advance and charge and the advance and shoot, which is obviously really good. Calgar gives you a command point if he's the warlord, and the new detachment, the Blades of Ultramar, gets better if you use Marneus Calgar, because as long as Calgar is alive, you can pick the same doctrine again. So instead of going tactical, devastator, assault, you can go devastator 3 times, or you can go tactical, tactical, assault. One of those. You can just do that. And for that reason, I believe Calgar is now ahead of Gilliman instead of being below him. S tier for sure. And the reason why is because I still think you can play both if you run a gun line. You can run only Calgar if you play a melee focused list with lots of Victrix and maybe some oath units that don't need to be double oathed, and I will be talking about those later. And Victrix God, of course. And Gilliman is better for gun lines. Gilliman is what you need for a gun line. Just all of your good vehicles, the Vindicators, the Hammerfall, Storm Speeder, Hammer Strikes, the your Repulsor Executioner, those kinds of things. That's what Gilliman does better. And of course, you can still play both of them in one list, but that's the difference. All right. Next, we have Marneus Calgar in Armor of Antilochus. Okay. Now, this is we are at the 3rd datasheet, and this is already pretty annoying because we have to talk about a datasheet that is actually really good. The problem is just it is bad in comparison. So let's figure this out. Marneus Calgar in Armor of Antilochus is a cheaper Marneus Calgar without the bodyguards and without the feel no pain. In exchange, you get the deep strike keyword, you can join Terminators, and you give the Terminator keyword to your unit. So what does that mean? It is interesting. It is a really interesting question because this is not a bad datasheet. It is a good datasheet that just doesn't see play because the original is so much better. And this could be taken in a lot of directions because for roughly the same cost, you get Terminator Calgar and 6 Victrix, but you could also just take the old Calgar and 3 Victrix. That is what it is. Suffering from points too. Matt, I don't completely agree with this. Actually, I think Terminator Calgar isn't too cheap. I think his points cost is fine. Yeah, but yeah, it's a hash brown when you order tater tots. That is so funny. That is actually good. So, I'm here to enlighten you on one thing Terminator can do. Yeah, Liam Donnelly. I will be mentioning that right now. If you attach Terminator Calgar to a unit that isn't a Terminator unit, that unit gets the Terminator keyword, which isn't worth anything. But in first company task force, you can now use the -1 damage, the +1 to hit, and the go back into reserve stratagem. Those are stratagems you can only use on Terminator units, and you could do something like a teleporting eradicator unit if you have Terminator Calgar in that unit, which, or you can give -1 damage to Victrix guard, which kind of fixes the wound problem. But I'll be talking about this. So where do we put this guy? Because I think he's flawed, and the flaw is just he looks bad in comparison, and this is basically what it is. Yeah, a lot of lists run Ventress. That's what it is. Yeah. So if you are a first company lover out there, I see you. I see you. Run the Terminator Calgar. But other than that, yeah, let's just get this guy into C tier right away. And let me reiterate, this is not a bad datasheet. This is not a bad datasheet. But in comparison to the Calgar you are going to use, it is just not happening. And I can't put first company as a certain situation because the idea behind the B tier thing is the situation has to actually come up and you are not playing first company. It is just it's just what it is. If Calgar in Gravis armor gets removed tonight and you can't use him anymore, this one will go to A tier just out of necessity. You can do something with assault terminators. We will talk about assault terminators in a second. Once we get to them. All right, Uriel Ventress. Uriel Ventress is really good. For 95 points, you get a captain with a better power sword because Uriel has strength 6 and sustained hits, so it is just a better fighter. And Uriel gives you a Vect Aura, which is really powerful. Right. Oh, I'm getting a bunch of pushback in chat here. The Battle Brothers are saying he should be higher. Okay. You know what, guys? I will give you the B. You convinced me. Attaching 2 Terminators in addition to unlocking First Company, I will let it fly. Alright, we're giving him the B tier. Just for you. Alright, back to Uriel Ventress. So, you also get to give an infantry unit that isn't Centurions or Scouts the Deep Strike keyword, which you now use on himself, usually, because he can now Deep Strike himself and a unit of Victrix Guard, which means he's basically a transport, if you want to look at it that way. And yeah, Uriel Ventress is really good. Yep, it's A tier. I think we put him in A tier last time. Yeah, that was a thing. If anyone remembers, in the last tier list, I did that as a speculative thing, where I put Uriel Ventress into A tier, and some people were really surprised, but I saw it coming. I had that feeling Uriel was going to show up again, and he did. Good for him. Next, we have Captain Sicarius, excuse me. The original Captain Sicarius. And I honestly, let's just pull up Cato Sicarius 2 because we kind of have to talk about both of them at the same time. Cato Sicarius is the new model and Captain Sicarius is the old model. So what does that mean? For starters, they have different rules and they have different applications. Old Sicarius gives you the assault keyword and scout, which works in a transport. That means your Victrix Guard unit has Scout 6, which makes it easier for them to stage up before the game even starts, and gives them a lot more reach. In addition, you kind of have a pseudo Calgar interaction where, or like in Stormlands, you have an interaction where your unit can always advance and shoot, and also charge because he has assault and you only need to put advance and charge on them and then they can shoot and charge at the same time, and it's great. It's a good time. Cato Sicarius, on the other hand, gives you free heroic intervention instead of Scout 6 and assault, which many people say is worse, and I would agree with that statement, but free heroic is still really good. Especially because Cato Sicarius free heroic is worded in a way where you can do it twice. So you can do an extra heroic if you use a normal heroic first and then use it here. Salutations, Michael. It's been a hot minute. What Kato Sicarius does, however, the new one, this guy has really good combat. I'm not joking. You have an 8 attack sweep, I believe, at AP2 with sustained hits, which is really good at killing stuff. You have a 6 attack power sword profile with precision natively, which saves you a lot of CP to kill some characters, and it works really well with the chapter champion, and you just put those two into the same unit. And then you can just basically kill any unit character that isn't like 10 wounds, 2 up invuln or something. And the last one exactly is damage free. Damage free is unheard of in this codex. In fact, the only datasheets in Codex Space Marines with damage free combat are the Dreadnoughts, Assault Centurions, and Marneus Calgar. And that's it. So, yeah, I do think you take... Oh, and obviously both of them have a rule that is similar, but it's not the same. Captain Sicarius, the old one, has a reactive move if you step within 9 inches of his model. Important. You get to make a flat 6 reactive move. The new Sicarius says if you step within 9 inches of his unit, you have a flat 6 reactive move. People didn't believe me when I told them because the app said something different, but you should never believe the app. Always just download the damn PDF and read what it says on there. So the old Sicarius has a smaller base, which is important, and has a worse reactive move. And this is actually important now that they're similar-ish in cost. So the final ranking for these two, I would agree with what was said in chat by Halo. The app said it too. No, the app said both of the same, I'm pretty sure. Before it was patched. I'm pretty sure the app said it was the same, but it's not. I think they're both A tier. But I would put the original Sicarius first because people are playing him more often. That said, I do think people are sleeping a bit on the new one because Free Heroic is still really good. Free Heroic is excellent. You just get another source of free stratagems, and he hits so hard. Salutations, Emperor's Crusader. Next unit, a brand new Captain Titus, and I would like to get a small moment of silence for our boy, because not all of our datasheets made it into this tier list. We have one of them missing. Where is it? Here he goes. Here he is. Battle Brothers, please give me a salute. Lieutenant Titus is no longer with us on this tier list because the datasheet for Lieutenant Titus was deleted into oblivion. He is gone. If you own the model because you bought the board game, sucks to suck. Rip Bozo, he's gone. And that's all I have to say about Lieutenant Titus in this video. Now, let's talk about Captain Titus. Captain Titus is really good, but you probably won't play him. Let's talk about it. He has a chainsword with 8 attacks and AP 1 with damage 2, and it has anti-infantry 2+. He also has a bolter, which is heavy and assault, and has the usual captain profile, which is AP 1 damage 2. Titus gives all of his models in his units sustain hits 1. This also applies whenever Titus is solo. So if you don't attach Titus to any unit, he still has sustain hits, which is honestly pretty good because he's not bad as a solo model, thanks to his 5-up Feel No Pain. 6 wounds, 5-up Feel No Pain, 4-up invuln. This guy is actually pretty annoying to kill. He has low AP, but he's really good at killing infantry. So, in my opinion, he needs to be in a detachment which provides him an AP boost. So, I would not put him into Stormlands or Vanguard or Anvil Siege Force if you're really spicy. I believe he lives in the Gladius and in the Reclamation Force, which is his own detachment. What does he actually do? He has a really interesting rule, which is a mix between fight on death and revive. It is not capped once per game, so this can happen every single turn. If Titus dies in close combat, important, close combat, and he hasn't attacked yet, you can roll a die. On a 2 up, he gets back up. And if he kills a model in his following fight activation, you get to keep him at 3 wounds. So basically, he comes back at D3 wounds, I believe, and if he manages to kill something. He's really good against melee armies, but obviously it is really easy to just grenade him in the face or just shoot him with a gun, and then he doesn't get back up. So, he's also only OC1. So what do I think about Captain Titus for 90 points? I honestly think it's a good model. I just think you will probably not play it. One thing I want to point out is the fact that if you go for a massive melee focused brick of units, if you, for example, go 18 Victrix Guard or a bunch of Victrix and some Blade Guard and maybe the Wardens or whatever you want to do, if you have Titus with you, you have a unit that doesn't need Oath of Moment. A unit of Victrix Guard with Titus hits on 2s with sustained hits 1. That is a 100% hit rate with basic math. So they don't need Oath. And this is in Gladius, this is the perfect unit to have the Lance stratagem. Because you have a 100% conversion rate on hits, and you still get +1 to wound. This is really good. In his own detachment, the Reclamation Force, he gets -1 to wound always, even against attacks that aren't higher strength and without being on an objective, which is which is honestly pretty good. Yeah, Titus goes into B tier. I think he's better than Terminator Calgar, but I don't think he makes it into A tier quite yet. I think the other named captains over here are all a bit more useful in general matchups than Titus. But I honestly think if you take Titus in a 2000 point army, I don't think you're trolling. I think this is a legitimately good character. Here we go. Excuse me, I have to blow my nose. Alright, let's go back. Our next character to talk about is, and our last epic hero, is Chief Librarian Tigurius. Now, Tigurius is one of those little unsung pieces of the Ultramarine roster because Tigurius is actually really good. Tigurius is really good. Barely anyone plays him, but he keeps putting up results. Like, it's mostly in the European sector because a German player, Bastian Kree, and as recently Mr. Furiman from Switzerland, he always plays with Tigurius. And Tigurius just does work. Tigurius gives his unit a free stratagem. You can pick... what is it? You can pick Overwatch, Go to Ground, Heroic Intervention, and Counteroffensive. And you can make one of these free. And keep in mind, Counteroffensive being free actually means free, not one cheaper, because it is mentioned by name in his rules text. If his stratagem is mentioned explicitly by name, it actually becomes free. So that is honestly pretty cool. His gun is insane. Tigurius has a really good gun. It is 2d6 shots at 622 ignore cover and blast. It is really, really good. Yeah, his shooting is no slouch. He's good in Stern Guard, and he can join Blade Guard to make them really tanky with the -1 to hit and the 4-up Fear No Pain against Mortal Wounds, because Mortal Wounds is one of the best ways to deal with Blade Guard. And that is basically it. What is the downside of Tigurius? Tigurius cannot join Victrix Guard. If he could, I would be so happy. And I think it's a bit of a miss. Yeah. Yeah, Halo actually pointed out what I said. Yeah, this is exactly what I believe. I think the reason why he goes into B tier instead of A tier is that he doesn't have good units to join. That's what that is. Melum Kato, he would be in the Yap station forever because I would be reading the entire voice catalog of codex quotes. Yeah, Tigorius is an amazing datasheet, but he cannot go into the most exciting units. He's obviously the best character in Librarius Conclave, if that's something you want to do. But yeah, do we have any voices in chat arguing for A tier? Devorn wants to go A. Yeah, Michael, he's a loyalist plaguecaster. Yeah, pretty much. He has a very similar gun. His gun goes so hard with Oath. It is insane how good his shooting is. Yeah, B. I do think he's a B. I think we had him higher before. I think I put him in A. Did I? No, he was B. Alright. Yep, no downgrades here. Is he above Titus? I think so. Yeah, we're keeping him in B. I think he's better than Titus for one reason, and that reason is he keeps going 4-1 and 5-0 in Germany, and that's why I'm really biased about it. All right, here we go. The Wardens of Ultramar. This is a new unit that came out, and they are supposed to be Captain Titus's attachment. For 90 points, you get 4 human dudes with 3 wounds. One of them has an invuln save on a 5. And you get 1 marine with a 4-up invuln and 4 wounds, and you get 1 marine with 4 wounds and a +1 OC banner. And the idea behind this unit is you put Titus into the Wardens, and then you can attach the Wardens to another unit. So you could be making a 13 model Blade Guard unit with a bunch of extra models in it. All of them have +1 to hit and sustain hits, and all of that stuff. -1 to wound in all of that stuff in the Reclamation Force. And you know what? None of that matters. You know why none of that matters? It's a 90-point unit with 20 wounds. And they are split between 3 and 4 wound models. This is one of the best units they have ever released. And this is actually S tier. This is the best unit they have made. Now, there's one thing. They are epic heroes. So you cannot spam the Wardens of Ultramar. Oh, I forgot to mention the redeploy. You can redeploy 3 units back into reserves or on the table before the game begins. And it isn't limited to vehicles or infantry. You can redeploy whatever you want. So this guy has single-handedly killed the Phobos captain. The Phobos captain doesn't exist anymore. Who needs that guy? F him. So yeah, they are S tier. I want to point out one thing though, and the reason why I'm putting them behind the epic heroes in S tier. It is just a unit. They don't do damage. They don't have any super crazy special rules. It is just a block of stats that is a bit too cheap. They don't do anything else. They don't do damage. They don't live forever. They're just too cheap for how many wounds they have, and you can only take 1 unit of them. You will take them in every single list, but the moment they go up to like 95, you will probably never play them again. They are too good for 90, but they are not good enough for 100. That is basically because at 100 you get infiltrators, and I think you would rather have infiltrators than wardens in a vacuum. So that is what it is. They do a bit of damage in 10 power. Yeah, I mean, only 6 of those attacks are damage 2, and then you have some generic power sword attacks, but it is like they can beat up a unit of Marines. They can beat up 10 AdMech guys, but they will not like deal with a serious unit. That's what that is. Do I think Wardens would be better with Stern Guard or Blade Guard? None of the above. Don't attach them to anything. Just run them as a unit. So yeah. They more than double the survivability of any unit they join. That doesn't matter. Don't do it. It is just a waste of points. You don't want one unit that is slightly harder to kill. You want a unit that is not worth shooting. Put the Wardens on your open objective, and your opponent has to shove out 2 battle tanks to kill them. And then on your turn, you kill both of their battle tanks. That's what it is. They are just a scoring piece and a speed bump. Devon points out, rightfully, they do have the Psyker keyword. So in Librarius Conclave, you could have 2 units that counts as Psychers. So you could attach Tigurius to one thing and then them to something else to make that a Psyker unit. Yeah, these guys are S tier. The Wardens of Ultramar go into S tier, and they will probably remain at the 3rd spot for this entire video. Now, let's go to the moneymaker. Everyone who was rage baited by the thumbnail and the stream title. Let's talk about Victrix Honor Guard. This unit got nerfed twice in 6 weeks. And it was justified the first time, and probably also the second. What do they do? To reiterate what Victrix Guard do. It is a unit of 3 to 6 models with a 2-up save. They have 3 wounds and a strength 5, AP2 damage 2 power weapon. They also have a strength 4, AP1 damage 2 bolt gun, and they have really good stats for their combat. They hit on 2s and have 5 attacks in melee. So these guys are the best melee unit Ultramarines have access to, outside of if you count Gilliman as a unit by himself. They lost 1 wound and they went down in points. They are now 10 points more than what the original price is, and you can upgrade one of your Victrix Guard units with up to 2 epic heroes. You can only have these once per army, which is a chapter champion who has twin-linked weapons and an extra attack with precision, and you can give them the banner. And the banner gives +1 strength and attack for 1 turn. So what does that mean for this unit? They got a lot worse. So if you asked 2 weeks ago where this unit was, no discussion. It was over here. It was the best unit Space Marines have ever gotten, and it was way too strong. Now it is a bit difficult because, and they have, by the way, they have completely made company heroes obsolete. Company heroes were unplayable when Victrix Guard came out. So where do Victrix Guard land today? They are no longer S tier, I think. I think the best Space Marine list right now is the shooting gun line list you have played for the past year. It is the same list. Maybe you change one vehicle to a Redemptor or whatever, and that's what that is. However, and that list will go straight back to company heroes for the 1 unit. But it doesn't have to. I think 1 unit of Victrix with both of the epic heroes is still really good. And there is a bit of tech you can do with some Victrix in another list. For example, I had an idea I want to test out. And that idea is I just want to run 18 of them with the cheap captains. And I will just replicate what Black Templars are doing. I will just take 3 transports, put 18 Victrix in 3 transports. I will back them up with some shooting, like Vindicators or something, and then I will just hit my opponent and slam them like a hammer. It is what it is, and I think that list has potential. Maybe that list has to wait until Necrons get nerfed, because Necrons are going to be a big problem very soon. And you do have to be mindful of the fact that even though you do Blood Surge to keep yourself a bit protected, damage-free weapons just clean you out now. It is really, really rough to get shot by an Exocrine or a Forge Fiend. I will put them in A tier, and I think they are top of A tier because all of the characters we have in A tier so far join Victrix Guard. I think that's what that is. Yeah, I think Victrix Guard are still a really good unit. I just think you don't take 18 of them as a stat check. You now take them as something a bit more reasonable. They are now a melee unit. They can be killed. They are not outrageously expensive, and they still have some pretty neat tricks. One little thing I want to mention, and that is I will put them down for a second. One thing I want to mention, and this is not tested at all. I have not tried it in the slightest. I just want to ask if anyone else has noticed this. There is a chance in Reclamation Force you just run Victrix without a character. Because Victrix get -1 to wound while they're on an objective. They have OC2, so they're pretty good at holding an objective for that rule to come up. And if you charge something on an objective, you have AP free. You might actually just use them as a moderately priced melee unit. You just throw them into objectives and then see what happens. Your opponent has to deal with them, but you don't throw another 90-point character into the bin by charging something. And AP3 is pretty good. You also get them to 6 attacks, which is pretty nuts. So yeah, this is just something I haven't tested it at all because I haven't played a Reclamation game yet, but I do think maybe, I don't know, maybe. Alright. That was all of the Ultramarine tier characters and datasheets. Now we have to slog through the codex. Now, instead of going over each datasheet individually by reading all the rules, I will just mention anything that warrants mentioning. So hopefully I can do this one below 3 hours, because first of all, sitting here for 3 hours is a bit rough on my voice. And second, consistently for the past 2 months, I had dead internet around 4 a.m. So hopefully we can make it before my internet dies. Salutations, Deadshot Man. Hello, Birdie. Alright, so here we go. What else is there to do? We have a captain. The basic captain is really good. There's no problem with this guy. He's pretty solid. You get a bunch of devastating wounds in combat with really good strength. The new detachments have some really good stuff for your captains. You can get full rerolls to wound in Reclamation Force. You can get what is it? You can make something battle line to get all of your buffs in the the Bastion Force, I believe. But yeah, even in Stormlands, he's just really good. Yeah, captains are solid. They go with Assault Intercessors or Stern Guard. You have a one-way missile to Death Wound City, and they usually die and don't come back from it. But if they do come back and survive, your opponent probably lost the game. So yeah, I think the captain is in solid B tier. I'll be putting him ahead of Calgar, but below Titus. I think captains are super solid. Nothing wrong with captains. Next, we have the Gravis Captain. The Captain Gravis Armor. He halves damage. He has a free strat. He can either have a damage-free rifle or a bunch of melee weapons. So what is actually going on with the Gravis Captain? You universally have a good enhancement for this guy in almost every detachment. You can be a lone op, you can have a 4-up Feel No Pain, you can have a 5-up Feel No Pain and a 2-up Armor Save, you can have -1 damage and a reduce Melter and Flamer damage to 1 in Firestorm. And in Anvil Siege Force, he is the way to buff your Gravis units. You also give him the 5-up invuln to run your 10 heavy intercessors in Reclamation Force, I believe. And yeah, so this is just what you do with this guy, but most of the time, 99% you see this guy as a solo model who is annoying, throws grenades, doesn't die to one piece of shooting, and that's just what he does. So the Gravis Captain goes into A tier because you still see him in competitive lists. He is right now fighting with the Wardens of Ultramar for list space, so I will put him at the bottom of A. But the Gravis Captain has proven himself time and time again in multiple detachments, and he's also good in the more niche strategies. So, yep, that's what he does. The Captain with Jump Pack. This guy is terrible. No one cares about him. He gives +1 strength on the charge if he's leading a unit. You get a free strat, like with every other captain. And the only purpose this guy has is if you play Vanguard Spearhead, you give this guy the Lone Op enhancement so you can make a free rapid ingress onto an objective marker to steal primary. And that is all he does. He's not garbage, but he's definitely the first unit in C tier. Alright. The Terminator Captain. Now, this one we actually have to talk about a bit, because previously he was garbage, and I still think he is, but I'm ready to hear some voices why he's not garbage. He gives you reroll charges, he has a bunch of like mediocre combat weapons like every other captain, and you get the free strat. You obviously get the deep strike keyword, and you get your Terminator attachment stuff. I would not spend any time on the Terminator Captain, except for the fact that Assault Terminators are now suddenly pretty good. D1, bottom of B due to Reclamation Task Force combo. What's the combo? Just to remind the chat, the combo is you can use the +2 to charge stratagem, and which is also the +1 attack strat. It's the same strat, and you can use that on units that just arrived from Deep Strike. So you have 7-inch Deep Strikes out of reserve, and you can make that with Terminator Captains rerollable for free. You could also spend a command point to do that, which he does for free, but never mind. It's what it is. Well, I guess that the combo, the captain does the +2 strat for free, and then he charges in. Yeah. Yeah, I do think he was garbage before. Can we put him in C? He was in D tier before, because this guy was, like, unusable. He was garbo. But I think he's better than the Jump Pack Captain. I don't think he's good enough for B tier, so let's go C. Terminator Captain, C tier. Massive improvement. Top of C. The Phobos Captain. This guy goes into garbage tier, because the only use this guy had, which was redeploying units, has been completely usurped by the Wardens of Ultramar. Rip Captain Akaran, he got eaten by Gene Stealers, into the trash he goes. I hope you burn in hell. The Lieutenant. Now, Lieutenants got cheaper, if I remember. What is happening with Lieutenants? Is anyone losing them, using them? Outside of, like, RTTs, is anyone using them in competitive play? Have we seen some fancy Hellblaster stuff? There is one thing I can think of, which is the Lieutenants pair well with Titus, so you get double crits. They also work in Gladius in the 10-man unit for intercessors. 55 points. Yes, they got pretty cheap now. I think the best use cases for lieutenants are you give them the ignore modifier enhancement in Firestorm, so you can kill Catan in combat, and they have fire discipline in the Gladius or in the Blade of Ultramar, which is the Behemoth veteran, I think, and that gives you sustained hits, and a 10-man unit of intercessors with Storm of Fire, lethal hits, and sustained hits, and Oath of Moment for +1 to wound. This unit will hit a vehicle really hard, and it will kill basically any infantry unit. 42 shots with sustained lethal, full rerolls to hit, double crits, and then +1 to wound, AP2, no cover. If all of your buffs are up, which is not difficult to do, by the way, this unit hits really hard. So, is that good enough for B tier? According to the criteria we have right here, I don't think he is. I don't think he's bad enough to be in C. Because I don't see a flaw with the lieutenant. The lieutenant's biggest problem is he can't join anything really exciting. But he got cheaper, and there is like a small thing he can do. So let's go bottom of B for now. Yes, indeed, he cannot join with the Wardens, but you can make a Blade Guard unit with sustained lethal if you are into that with Titus, I guess. Yeah. Next, the Reaver Lieutenant. This guy has been the janitor of the garbage tier for over 2 years now, for over 3 years now, and he is still garbage. This is the only character that makes his unit worse for attaching him to the unit. So this guy goes into D tier. Next, we have the Phobos Lieutenant. The Phobos Lieutenant has exactly one purpose, and that purpose is you can have a Fire and Fate set up to move an incursor unit in and out of cover to safely get your +1 to hit off. The pleasure costs you an extra 55 points, and I think that makes this guy flawed. You can't charge after you do the move. You used to be able to, but that was terrible anyway. And he just makes your unit more expensive for a benefit that isn't that great. So for that reason, I think this guy's flawed. If he ever goes down to like 40 points, you could consider taking him. But yeah, can't join Eliminators either. That's what it is. He's better than the Reaver Lieutenant, and he's better at leading Reavers than the Reaver Lieutenant because he has Deep Strike. I think he's better than the Jump. No, I think he's worse than both of these. Because I talked about one situation in which the jump pack captain is actually good, and I think that situation is more likely to come up than the move, shoot, and move thing. So, the lieutenant with combi weapon. This guy is an absolute house. He has been one of the best datasheets in Space Marines for the entire edition, and it took about 2 years for people to notice that this guy is actually really good. People were not playing him in the beginning because of the Calidus Assassin, and then his rule got buffed, and people were still like, maybe. And then you saw him in Vanguard. You saw him in Vanguard because people were like, well, he can carry the Vect enhancement, and that's pretty good. And at some point, people just figured out this guy is like the best lone op in the game, or like in the conversation for best lone op in the game. 4 wounds with stealth and a 5-up feel no pain is not exactly tough, but it is pretty easy to imagine scenarios in which this guy doesn't die. In addition to that, you get a flat 6 reactive move whenever something comes with a 9, which you cannot do twice anymore. That got nerfed, but you see this guy in pretty much every single list because the reroll 1s to wound thing on an objective is actually a damage buff for your entire army. He works really well with the Wardens because you can infiltrate him into a spot your opponent would like to infiltrate or scout into. And then, well, okay, scout not. You cannot stop scout, but you can stop infiltrate. You can put this guy into a spot where your opponent would like to infiltrate, and then before the game begins, you just zap him back into your deployment zone so he's safe. So they work really well together, the Wardens and the Lieutenant here. Yep, this guy is in S tier. Any thoughts? I don't think so. This guy is in S tier. He has been for a while now. You can't do anything wrong by putting this model into your lists. The Librarian. Librarians have devastating wounds on their gun, but their gun is really unreliable because it's a D6 shotgun. They give a 4-up invuln save to their unit, and they are obviously really important for Librarius Conclave, but I have come to the conclusion that Librarius Conclave is really bad right now. So, where do we put the Librarian? I think people like to put the Librarian with Sternguard sometimes to fish for death wounds in Gladius, but honestly, I am so over that. It is so expensive for a unit that just dies and doesn't really do anything except for kill one target. So, yeah, until Librarius gets better, I think this is a C tier unit. Yeah, it's nice that he does something, but I don't think it's good enough to be in B tier. Do I put him? I think I put him ahead of the jump pack, but below the Terminator Captain. I think that's a good place to be. C for Conclave. That is great. Outside of that, play Tigurius. Yes, that's another thing. If you have Sternguard, just play them with Tigurius. It's just better, probably. The Phobos Librarian. This will be a bit of a hard one for you to understand for some of you. The Phobos Librarian gives his unit -1 to hit, and outside of 12 inches, they can't be shot. This is a one-hit combo with Infiltrators, because they say your opponent can't come within 12 out of reserves. So basically, you are impossible to be shot from an angle you didn't want to be shot from. And you get an extra model that extends the 12-inch aura by a bunch. This is the only application this guy has. He is very, very niche. You don't see them at all, but they are B tier. And I agree with Shadowy Warrior for one reason. And that is the reason why you don't see him right now is because you don't need to. It happens every few months. Games Workshop messes up and they print an indirect unit that is broken. They do this every single time. There is something going on with Guard or Desolation Marines or Plague Burst Crawlers, and when that happens, just buy the Phobos Librarian, and you will be fine. This is your insurance policy against indirect fire. And in teams, if you want to be the guy who fights all of the Deep Strike armies, he has some value in teams. Salutations, Ilo-san. I'm very happy to see you. I'm putting this guy bottom of bottom of B. Behind the lieutenant, because this is more of a theoretical value than a value you have in practice right now. But this is a tech piece, and if that tech comes up, this guy is irreplaceable. But right now, you don't need him. And if the game is fun, you will never need him. That's what that is. Alright. Next, we have the Terminator Librarian. The Terminator Librarian was the best leader for Terminator squads before the captain got a relevant detachment. Sustained hits is pretty good. It works really well with the assault terminators getting better. Is that good enough for B tier? Is that good enough for B tier? Because I think if you want to play assault terminators, you would play Terminator Calgar instead, right? He did get better by proxy, but I don't think he got better himself. His own offense is pretty bad because it's just AP1 on the force weapon and a bunch of Stormbolter. He has the good psychic shot, but it's also still really random. Sustained hits is really good on assault terminators, but I think he's worse than the captain because the captain has a detachment to build around. I would be more tempted to go with C, but I think he's better than the normal librarian. Yeah. Here we go. Regular chaplain. Regular chaplain does some stuff against battle shocks. You get +1 to wound, and I explained many times before that this is a problem in Ultramarines specifically, where the librarians are not that good. Yeah, we don't use chaplains at all because we are not blood angels, and we don't have a reason to. Because the chaplains they don't mix well with Oath of Moment. That's their biggest problem. And it is always good to have an additional +1 to wound somewhere, but you can also just get that from a stratagem. And we would be having a different conversation if the chaplain could join Victrix Guard, but he can't. So what are you gonna do? Blade Guard with +1 to wound? Who cares? So this guy is going into C tier, I believe. He's not garbage because he's only 60 points, so he's pretty cheap. Though wait a second. Last time we made that argument, the lieutenant was still 70 points. And isn't lethal hits just better than +1 to wound? Is the regular chaplain worse than the Phobos lieutenant? That's kind of depressing, right? Is that a garbage unit? Man, that's pretty sad, right? That's kind of sad. Poor chaplain. Yeah. Man, that's what it is. Next. Here we go. The Chaplain in Terminator armor. The Chaplain in Terminator armor is mediocre as hell. He gives +1 to wound, which you don't need. Especially on Terminator units, because Terminator units need to be oathed, because Terminators get benefits. Regular Terminators benefit from attacking the oath target, so they want to attack the oath target, which means the +1 to wound is worthless, and Assault Terminators, while they no longer need Oath to hit the broadside of a barn with the buff, they also have better options for leaders, because you would rather have sustained hits on a unit that hits on freeze than +1 to wound. You get a 4 Fear No Pain against mortal wounds, which is cool, I guess, but you also get a 4 Fear No Pain against mortal wounds that are psychic from the librarian. So I think the Terminator Chaplain is also in D tier now. And this might also only be because the captain now has a purpose to exist, and that purpose takes away what the chaplain is doing. And I don't believe in 10 Thunderhammers with a chaplain as a defensive unit. I don't think that's a real thing you can do. Yeah, I think the chaplains are in for a pretty bad time here. Yeah. We have the chaplain on bike. This guy is honestly fine. He joins Outriders, which you are not playing right now. He could theoretically carry enhancements in Stormlands. You are not taking him for that. But I do think, in theory, he is the only way to get an enhancement on a unit of Outriders if you want to go for the +1 AP and damage thing. And you just want to have one squad that can charge and stuff. I think the Bike Chaplain goes bottom of C. Because at least you could play him for an enhancement, turn 1 Rapid Ingress in Stormlands, and that is better than anything the other Chaplains do. Yeah, we're playing Outriders sometimes. Man, I have not played an Outrider ever since the Stormlands got nerfed. I have not put an Outrider into my list ever since that happened. Because you cannot afford to spend 2 command points on the flat 6 advance. Next. The Chaplain with Jump Pack. The Chaplain with Jump Pack is the worst of all of them, because he only buffs Vanguard Veterans and Jump Pack Intercessors, and neither of those units want to be brought in a big squad. He does a few mortal wounds, but he's really easy to kill because he has 4 wounds, so he's worse than the Captain on Jump Pack. So this guy is D tier, and he's the worst of all of them. This guy was garbage before the other Chaplains joined him in the garbage tier. That's Judicia. The Judicia gives fight first to a unit, and I never gave a damn about that. I just don't care, personally. I have never been impressed by a unit of Blade Guard with fight first. I have never cared. If my opponent has a unit with Blade Guard on fight first, and I have a Marnius Calgar, I just charge them. And then my opponent says, wait a second, I have fight first, and I say I don't care. And then the Blade Guard swings, I lose 3 of my company heroes, and then Calgar kills the entire squad by himself. It is just what it is. I don't like Judicious, but they see play every now and then because people like fight first, but I don't have a purpose for these guys. There was something going on in the new detachments, right? Yes, he can carry the reroll everything enhancement to trigger his death wounds. So you have a fight first unit with rerollable death wounds on objectives, which is probably where you want the fight first unit to be. And that might actually be enough to put him in B tier, right? I would probably rather have, and of course the fact that you see this guy way more often than the Terminator Captain. So I'm not putting these guys next to each other. The reason why I'm talking so much is because I don't want anyone to say he's A tier. I don't think Judiciars are good enough for A tier. They can't join Victrix. They are completely schmeckeldorfered by any of the captains, the epic hero captains, and there's just one thing they can do. Yeah, in Reclamation Force, he rerolls hits and wounds. And that's probably his best application. I'll put him with the Lieutenant, if you guys don't mind. And they prevent other characters from joining, yeah. I think he's better than the Lieutenant, but that's where I see the Judicia. Yeah. I don't want to give him C. I think the Terminator thing still needs some experimentation, but you do see fight first units outside of that detachment, and I will give that a nod by putting him in B instead of C, but I just want to mention I don't like that whole unit. Next is the Tech Marine. The Tech Marine is useful in exactly Iron Storm. And if you have exactly 55 points left over in your list, and you just have to buy a character, and this is the best character to buy. Anything else? Anything else about the Tech Marine? You get +1 to hit, you can repair your vehicle. That never happens because vehicles either are full or dead. That's my experience with vehicles in this edition. +1 to hit is pretty nice. He combos with the Gladiator Reaper. He combos really well with the Executioner, the Repulsor Executioner. And that's what it is. Yeah, you don't see the Tech Marine all the time. C? No, I disagree. I disagree with C. C would imply this guy has a flaw. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Tech Marine, you just don't take him. You don't take him because other options are better. I think the Tech Marine goes above the Judicia, but below Terminator Calgar. Or does he go with the Captain? Because in Iron Storm you play one sometimes. I wouldn't play one. I would rather have the Ultramarine characters, but if you want one of the enhancements only he can carry, you take him. Outside of that, if your Gladius list is at 1945, you take him because you have to put something in the list. And that's what that is. I think that's the one thing he does, and for that reason, I will put him in B tier. Next is the Apothecary. The Apothecary brings models back to life, but he can't join any relevant unit, and you get 1 CP if his unit dies, which is horrendously bad. Apothecaries are garbage, and so they will remain. Apothecary Biologist. I will bat for this guy, and I will argue he's better than the Lieutenant. And that has one reason. The Apothecary Biologist is the only model you can use to double join a Gravis unit. Now, Gravis units aren't exactly the best right now. But there are still people like me who are insane and play Anvil Siege Force, or you play Vanguard and you want to have your Eradicator brick. And honestly, Eradicators just got dropped 10 points. Eradicators are cheap again. 180 for 6 is actually pretty good. And even without the crit 5s, I think a unit of Eradicators with Fire Discipline is not bad. I don't think it's horrendous. I think for that reason, I'm putting the Apothecary Biologist around where the captain is, because you still use him. Eradicators pretty niche. We have a Catan meta coming. And Eradicators are your best option to kill Catan, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what that is. I'm putting him with the Tech Marine out of respect, because you have to put enhancements on Gravis Marines, and sometimes you have to put 2 enhancements on 1 unit of Gravis Marines. And that is exactly what the Apothecary Biologist provides. Also, all of the units he can join got cheaper. So that's that. Regular Ancient. 50 points. Wait a second. We have a bot in the Twitch chat, I believe. Garomax, can you type an English comment? If you don't, I will ban you. Because I suspect you are a bot from the warp. Also, salutations, Innovator. Gilliman after Calgar, it is what it is. Calgar has more use in he has more use in the Blades detachment than Gilliman. That's the rationale. Nope, we go and get rid of this guy. Alright, so. Next datasheet. The Ancient. What does the Ancient do? He gives +1 OC. If you attach him to Intercessors, he gets 2 extra shots. And he has a 4 Fear No Pain for himself while within midboard or on an objective. Ancients are garbage, but they are not the worst garbage, surprisingly. I'm putting them ahead of the Jump Pack Chaplain because they are 50 points. They are 50 points exactly, and sometimes you just need to fill 50 points. I don't think... Can you take anything else for 50 points? I don't think you can, right? Let me open new recruit and check. Is there anything you can buy for 50 points? Except for an Apothecary. I think it's the Ancient, right? The Blade God Ancient, that's 45. I will be talking about that in a second. So what do we have? Terminator Ancient is C tier because you can attach... Yeah, exactly. I think... I do think when we get to the Terminator Ancient, he will be 1 tier higher here. But... So what is your option for 50 points? Ancient, Apothecary, Blade God Ancient, but it's cheaper. And that's pretty much 850. Yeah, okay. In that case, let's just talk about this in a really, really easy way. The Ancient goes into bottom of C tier because there is the only existence this guy has is your list is at 1950. You have 0 things you can cut or shift around, so you just get an Ancient. Yeah, that's just what it is. Just upgrade your units. Sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes you don't want to upgrade your units. Or maybe sometimes you just want an extra model on the board. This is something people need to internalize a bit. Which is the idea that unit count matters. Unit count matters. If your army has 8 units in it, it is really difficult to play a game of Warhammer because someone has to hold the home objective, someone has to do an action, someone has to cleanse or deploy a homer, and having a model is better than not having a model. And this is exactly what the Blade Guard Ancient is for too. The Blade Guard Ancient does the exact same thing, except he is 45 points. Instead of the Feel No Pain, you get a 4-up invuln, but you don't have to be in a specific spot to do it. You can co-lead a Blade Guard squad, you don't want to. It matters for Calgar, but Calgar in Blade Guard is not a thing you do, because Victrix Guard exists, so yeah. Blade Guard Ancient goes in front of the Ancient in bottom of C, but again, this is not because the datasheet does anything useful. This is because it is 55. It is 50 points and 45 points. That's all the ancients do. They don't have anything else. You don't attach them to a unit. You don't do combat with them. They are a model on the board. And you only take them if you can't afford a better model on the board. The Terminator Ancient. The Terminator Ancient gets better by proxy because Assault Terminators got a better datasheet. And you can stack 2 enhancements on your squad with a captain. This is relevant in Iron Hands, so we don't do that. And I will be putting the Terminator Ancient into C tier. I think he's above the Jump Pack Captain or below the Jump Pack Captain. I think I'm more likely to play Vanguard than First Company, so let's put him in. Can a unit have more than 1 enhancement? Yes, Shadowy Warrior. If you have 2 characters with in 1 unit, you can have 2 enhancements. That is exactly how that works. Yeah, I'm putting this guy behind the Jump Pack Captain because I'm more likely to play Vanguard than I am to play First Company. And that's what that is. Let me catch my breath over here. Alright, we are done with the characters. And we are now going into the units. And the first unit is Company Heroes. Now, 2 weeks ago, and 6 weeks ago, and any time in between that, these guys dropped into C tier because they are good, but Victrix Guard made them completely obsolete. Now that Victrix Guard went back to 3 wounds, Company Heroes with their 4 wounds have their niche back. They are the thing. If you play the Shooting Castle, you attach Marnius Calgar to the heroes, you save 15 points compared to the to those Victrix Guard guys, and you just move on with your life. That's just what it is. Well, I guess right now you save 5 points, but I mean before the changes. So yeah, Company Heroes go into A tier. I think they go right behind Victrix Guard, ironically enough. Keep in mind, you only take 1 unit of Company Heroes, in my opinion, because the only Company Heroes unit that's good is the one attached to Marnius Calgar. And all of the other Company Hero units you take are a lot worse. So keep that in mind, but I'm putting them in A tier. Nothing wrong with them, just they're right here. They are annoying to deal with. That is exactly what they do. Alright, let's get into the battle line. Battle Brothers, are you ready for some battle line? I think we start with regular intercessors. Intercessors have a bunch of things they do. Most importantly, intercessors are the unit you take in every list, or in almost every list. They hold your home objective, they make it sticky. In the late game, they can move away from your home objective to do something else. And they are really good at skirmishing because they're 20 shots plus the grenade launcher plus the combat. They can easily tangle with any a trash squad that tries to take objectives away from you, and that's pretty good. Their other use case is you play a 10-man with a lieutenant and you just use crits and CP to just destroy targets. You take intercessors. I think they're A tier. I don't think they're S tier, because if you have the points to bring infiltrators instead, you're doing it. Yeah, you Shadowy Warrior is preparing for the new meta of the orbital detachment. Yeah, intercessors are in A tier. They have been living here for a while, and I'll be putting them above the Gravis Captain. Nothing wrong with intercessors. The reason they're not S tier and not higher in A tier is because you can, in all seriousness, consider them replaceable if you have more points to spend. If you can spend 20 extra points, you take infiltrators every time, and if you don't, it's fine. Intercessors do the job. That's what they do. Jared, what's my thoughts on Dawn of War 4? I'm really excited about Dawn of War 4. I should probably stream that game when it comes out. Yeah, I'm obviously gonna buy it. I'm really excited to see how the Blood Ravens are doing. And I really like the fact that all of the old 40k video games are being canonized into official lore now. And I really like that. Heavy intercessors. These guys are my love child. You don't see them anywhere because they're only good in bad detachments, but I have my soft spot for heavy intercessors. That's what they do. I think I have to put them in the bottom of B tier though, because they don't have results. But because they are flawed in a way, because they are expensive-ish, but they're not too expensive. It's just, man, I don't know. Heavy intercessors are so fun. They need a lot of support, and at the end of the day, they're still a free wound model that just dies to a Forge Fiend, but diggity dang, if you get those Anvil Siege Force combos off, they are amazing. They have some support in the new detachments. I think the 5-up Fear No Pain is really good for them. Excuse me, the 5-up Invulnerable Save and the -1 to Wound is really good for them in Reclamation. And they are battle line for all of your rules in the Bastion Force. So let's put them in B, but I'm putting them like ahead of the Phobos Librarian, because let's be real over here. Regular assault intercessors. Honestly, I want to put these guys in the exact same spot as the heavies because they only have one purpose. You take assault intercessors with the captain for your missile combo, but you don't take them anywhere else because you don't need to. And I think they're worse than heavies, by the way. Tactical Marines. Tactical Marines go into garbage tier because Tactical Marines are bad. I don't care how many times you guys are linking me an army list that won some grand tournament in Taiwan with an Iron Storm Rhino that has 2 melters in it for the rerolls. I don't care. They are bad. Don't play Tactical Marines. It's over. Buy the Primaris models, old man. Garbage, but they are at least better than the Apothecary. That's what it is. Now, alright. The Yap Station has a new member, and the Yap Station is talking about Incursors. Incursors are probably the best unit in the Codex outside of Epic Heroes. B tier, you are crazy. Incursors are the S. They are the best. Incursors are goated. They are so good. They do everything. They have assault, so they work with advance and charge. They have a +1 to hit, so they buff your gun line. They have a grenade that can be used defensively if people try to take your objective. They take damage. They work offensively because they can throw the mine and deal damage to your opponent. They have AP1 attacks with sustained hits, so they are good at killing other skirmish units. Incursors are friggin' excellent. These guys are the best unit in their weight class. 80 points. It is so good. They don't have to be a gunline though, Shadowy Warrior. I completely disagree with what you're saying. I completely disagree. Even in a mixed army, incursors are just good. Because you still get all of the other stuff I just mentioned. They still have the grenade, they still have good combat. They're just good at what they do. They're at their best if they can buff a shooting unit, but honestly, if you move away from Gilliman, you need more help to counteract the fact that you don't have double oath. So that is just what they do. Minimum A, I want to put them in S because they're just so good. I never play without them. The only way I could see going without incursors is if I played a list that only hits in combat and has auto hit weapons. Yeah, it's just so many mortal wounds. They do so much damage to vehicles. They can't get charged by 5 Stormboys. If 5 Stormboys charge you and the mine pops for 2 mortal wounds, you probably win the combat. You probably lose like 3 incursors and you kill all the orcs. And then you hold the objective through a battle shock, but still. Yeah, I think I have to give due respect to the incursors, as I did last time. These guys are just goated. S tier. Where would you get a Mario hat? What? Infiltrators. Infiltrators are probably the best screening unit in the entire game. They prevent deep strikes from 12 inches. They are really good for stratagems because you get how do I say it? You get your command point back on a 5-up, and they are pretty tough actually because they have a 6-up Fear No Pain. Intercessors are not S tier. Excuse me, infiltrators are not S tier. And that reason is pretty simple. It's points. If infiltrators were not 100 points, they would be S tier. And the problem is Ultramarines are expensive. They don't do well in combat, that's true. They take the hits, they don't deal the damage. Their gun is the worst of all of them. It's just heavy and has the least amount of shots and no extra rules. I think their gun is the worst out of all the units, but no, they are not B tier, Michael, because the 12-inch denial is so good. I said last time infiltrators are the I know you hate them because you don't respect the game. They legit do 0 damage. Who cares? You don't need to. Who cares? The Wardens of Ultramar do 0 damage. I'm still taking them. Yeah, it is so expensive to take them, and you probably can't afford it because Ultramarines need the points, but they're going into A tier, right behind the Intercessors. And the only reason why they're here is because why they're not in S is because you can't afford them. Infiltrators are the best unit you'd never take because of points. Next data sheets, we have Reavers. Reavers are the most B tier unit I have ever seen in my life. Reavers are really good. There is nothing wrong with them. They are really good at flipping objectives. They have deep strike, so you can put them in reserves. They ignore terrain, which is actually really good. Profa, have you not gotten the memo? Reavers have been good for 2 years. It's been a long time. Reavers are really good. They have 4 attacks with AP1 and precision, which actually matters a lot of times. And the fact that they can move vertically over terrain without losing distance is so good. Yeah, they're B tier. You don't care for battle shocks? I don't care for battle shocks either, but you don't need to. It doesn't matter if your opponent is battle shocked, you just need to lower their OC. And that's basically what that is. Yep, these guys are really good. You can use them on WTC terrain, on Games Workshop terrain to break the 1 inch off the wall rule if you have a second floor, because the Reavers can just charge onto the second floor or over a container or something, and they are useful for that. So, yep, this is a B tier unit. I'm honestly putting them with the captain or in front of Titus, probably. Yeah, I think I'm putting Reavers in front of Titus. Reavers are really good. If you actually play the list that has zero use for incursors, because your list doesn't have a single gun that isn't rerolling hits on a 2 or has auto hits or is all combat, in that case, you can take Reavers instead. Next, we have Scouts. Scouts are excellent. They come with a bunch of weapons that do no damage at all, but they do have Infiltrate, Scout, and Up Down. This is the best quote-unquote scoring unit in the game. My problem is just for 10 more points you get Incursors, and that upgrade is worth it. That said, as the last tier list also stated, I'm still putting them in S tier behind Incursors, because one Scout squad is really good. Yeah. I think Incursors are an upgrade, but you are not in a bad spot if you have a Scout squad. Yeah. They just do the thing. Exactly. They just do it. They do the thing. Scouts do exactly what you take them for. And that is, they just do that thing. Excuse me, not infiltrate. Those are eliminators. I haven't seen that unit for so long, I forgot what the name is. Eliminators are too expensive. They don't do anything because they're too expensive. Their precision shots are not good enough. Their last fusils are not good enough. Fire and Fate is cool, but it's not good enough because this unit is paying for a nerf it got 2.5 years ago. And I will put them in D tier for garbage. And you know why I put them in D tier for garbage? Because I wish Games Workshop would finally lower the friggin' points on Eliminators. These guys have been overcosted for 2.5 years because of a nerf that was patched out of the game. The interaction that got Eliminators nerfed doesn't exist. Not a single person in the last 2.5 years has used an Eliminator squad in a competitive list because it's terrible. These guys are 85 points for nothing. I'm out. Infernus Marines. Infernus Marines are honestly not that good because they're 90 points. That's their biggest problem. Infernus Marines have a pretty good range profile, actually. They're D6 shots with -1 damage. Excuse me, with -1 AP and 1 damage. They cause some battle shocks, no one cares. They have flamethrowers. They have strength 5, AP 1 flamethrowers. And a unit of these guys can do a lot of flamer hits. And that is a good thing. The problem is just you can't attach Tigurius to them for free Overwatch, and they are 5 points short of Eradicators, exactly. They're just not doing anything. That is the biggest problem, and they also fight with all the other 80 and 90 point units for skirmish space. So this is the reason why I'm putting them into C tier, and I think they are right with the Terminator Ancient, because this unit could be good, it just needs to be cheaper. That's basically what it boils down to. Next, we have Intercessors with jump packs. These guys are really good. I have nothing to complain about. I think they are a really good skirmish unit. I think Incursors are better, but jump pack Intercessors are a source of mortal wounds, and they are a source of fly. B to A tier, don't know where to place them. Yeah, we're getting to this. JPI are fine. They do mortal wounds, they have combat, they can fly over screens, which is actually something you can't do with Incursors. They also deep strike, which is pretty fine. I think they go right with Reavers. I think they're right in B tier with Reavers. People play them all the time, but other people don't play them at all. So it is between A and B. Honestly, you know what? Because it's one of those take it or leave it units, it is top of B tier, I think. With like right with the Reavers, I think. I'm putting them ahead of the Reavers because you you see them in competitive lists all the time. And as a reminder, B tier doesn't mean your unit is bad. It just means you don't have to play this unit. So many memes. Next, we have suppressors. Suppressors go into C tier. I have finally given up on suppressors. They are really cheap. They move really fast. The problem is they don't do any damage and their rule is not relevant at all. These guys are C tier. They just need a better rule, or they need to come in units of 6. If I could pay 150 for 6 of those in one squad, I would do it. I think that would be worth buffing. C tier, I do like them better than any of these units, though, I think. Because at least they're cheap. There is nothing this unit does that is amazing, but at least it's 75 points. The problem is you would rather have a scout squad than some incursors, but I think they're better than anything else in C tier. I think at least they're cheap. They could be worse. Outriders. I think this is the trifecta of the melee skirmish pieces. And we can put them in B tier. Outriders are fast. Outriders skirmish. They have big bases to move block. Their downside is they can't go through walls. They give +1 to charge to some stuff. I don't think there's anything flawed with Outriders. I think Outriders as a unit that is just here to skirmish and move block, they are B tier. The problem is just you have better options most of the time, but sometimes you see them. Like it's not if I see an Outrider squad in your 80-point unit slot in your list, I'm like, oh yeah, makes sense. I wouldn't do that, but yeah. I do think they are significantly worse than JPI and Reavers, though. I think I'm putting them above the Phobos Librarian. I think they're worse than the Assault Intercessors with the Captain Missile. I think they're worse than that. Next, we have the ATV, and the ATV is actually really good. It is a fast, tough mounted unit, which doesn't give up Bring It Down, which is pretty good. You get a Gatling or a Multi-Melter, I don't care what you choose. Be your own brother, and this is really good. I don't agree with A tier. It's not that good. I'm taking the ATV if my list is at 1940 and I can't afford a real unit. An ATV is the closest thing to a real unit, but it isn't a real unit in my opinion. It is surprisingly tough, but it is still just one model, so it doesn't screen well. It doesn't go through walls, and you only have 2 OC on one thing. What is the first unit in A tier? In A tier, oh, that is Victrix Guard. Carolyn Mask McLean, that is Victrix Honor Guard. You don't need to screen, you need to first turn middle, but that's what the Wardens are for. Shadowy Warrior, have you heard of Wardens? That's exactly what they're for. I think they go in B tier. I think the ATV is a lot more valuable than the Ancients because it's a filler unit, but it's a filler unit that actually does something. So I think the ATV goes with the Judicia. I'm not happy about playing an ATV, but when I have to, it's fine. It's not the worst. Next, we have Aggressors. Aggressors got cheaper, and they're still not good enough. Is there anything in the new detachment that makes Aggressors better? Anything we can do to make aggressors better in the new detachments. The problem is the delivery system. That is exactly it. The problem with aggressors is they want to shoot and they want to punch because they have guns and fists. The problem is you can't do both of them at the same time in a gladius because they don't have assault and advance and charge unless you attach Calgar, but you probably don't do that. Aggressors have a bunch of bullets or flamethrowers if you don't like oath. I think they go into C tier, but it's probably top of C tier. Yeah, we have so many better options. I think it's the worst Gravis unit by far. I think aggressors are the worst Gravis unit. And yeah, I'm putting them in C tier. And the problem is just exactly that. They are difficult to deliver and the toughness just doesn't hold up anymore. It is not that hard to kill aggressors in 2026. It is just unfortunate they didn't keep up with the times. I wish they just would get pistol as a keyword, for example. At least give them pistol so they can shoot in combat. The Gravis captain has pistol on his stupid wrist thingy. I don't know. Do something about it, Games Workshop. Alright, I think we are halfway through the tier list. Give me one moment to blow my nose. Here we go. Eradicators. I think Eradicators are making a comeback. Yeah, I am very, very, very happy about Eradicators going down in points. Because Eradicators are good in two ways. They are good as a big break with buffs to just obliterate a heavy tank vehicle. But they are also really good as a small unit that just skirmishes around on the board. Because Eradicators off of rapid ingress, just walking into melter range and shooting at a transport, is the best way to open a transport behind a ruin. It is just so good to have a unit of Eradicators in reserve, and it's basically if we still had mission rules in the game, if we could draw one of those twist cards from the mission deck that are banned in competitive, if we get a twist that says you start the game with a unit of Eradicators in reserve for free, that would be the best thing. The delivery system is a problem? Not really, and I will explain why. Eradicators don't have to be in combat. They only need to shoot. They don't have to be in combat. They can arrive from reserves, and they can disembark from a Redeemer. They can stage up behind a wall and assault, but because they don't have to charge anything, they just do it. They need to be within melter range? That depends on the target, to be honest. You don't have to be in melter range to kill a Rhino with 6 Eradicators. Melter range is nice. It is necessary to kill something really tough, like a Knight, or what do you say, a Primarch, or a Catan or something. That's when you need the melter range. That is completely correct. But you can also just take shots at 18 inches. If something gets shot by oathed Eradicators, they will feel it. It hurts. And Eradicators going down is really good for Anvil Siege Force. I do want to say they are A tier. I think, yeah, you can give them a Deep Strike with the Orbital Detachment. You can give them Deep Strike with Uriel Ventress if you want to do something actually relevant to the game. But yeah, I think Eradicators are approaching the A tier, but I'm not sure I can give it to them yet. I think it needs to be studied. They are really good against Victrix Guard. Funny enough. You can Deep Strike with Meltzer, so you have to Rapid Ingress. Yeah, that makes sense. Bottom of A. Did they deserve the A tier yet? I honestly, probably, yeah. They are still S, or they are still A tier in Vanguard if you want to play Vanguard, but the other thing is you don't need them though. You don't need to have them, but they are better than just a niche. I'm flipping between A and B. I did say Catan are coming, and you need to prepare for Catan. Yeah, let's go in A tier. I'm putting them behind the Gravis Captain. I think, yeah, A tier makes sense. Yeah, if you have Deep Strike, you can really go into more places. That is absolutely correct. Next, Inceptors. Inceptors are rarely seen these days because they are really expensive for models that destroy themselves. And their damage profile has been lacking ever since the 4 wound models and the 2-up saves and the -1 damages got more important. That said, Inceptors are not bad. I also think they are B tier. And I think they are better than heavy intercessors. And that's where I would put them. They deep strike 6 inches. They can snipe single characters like lone ops. And they also just move 10 inches with assault and fly, which I also really like. A 6 model unit in Vanguard is still really, really good because it can up down again and again, and it has access to the +1 to hit strat. In Gladius, you can use Storm of Fire to do some stuff. They really like Oath of Moment. And even the small units are fine because they force your opponent to screen. Exactly, Liam. That is true. So I would like to put Inceptors in B tier ahead of the Heavy Intercessor because I think they are the second best Gravis Marine. If I had to point out one thing I don't like about them, they're too expensive. I think 120 is a bit antiquated. I think they should go back to their release cost of 110. All right. We pushed it out and it's happening. Blade God Veterans, it is my least favorite unit. I hate Blade God Veterans. People play them all the time. I see them in lists every now and then. They went up 10 points. B for Blade Guard. I can't put them in C. They're not that bad, but man, we have Victrix Guard. Like, come on. Are we doing this really? Are you really taking Blade Guard when Victrix are right here? No. You are paying those extra 30 points. 2-up save, Blood Surge, 6 extra attacks, hits on 2s, has access to the banner. Like, come on. Titus and the Lieutenant, give them a warm-up, a glow-up. You can't put Wardens with Victrix. That's the one niche, and that, I guess, justifies B tier. I'm putting them with the Judiciar. Because that's where they belong. Vanguard Veterans. These guys are actually pretty good. They are probably the best units I don't... excuse me. I think Vanguard Veterans are the best unit I don't play. Vanguard Veterans are B tier. They went up in points. 100 is a lot. And I personally like them less than JPI, but there is something to be said in Blades of Ultramar. 5 Vanguard Veterans with a Storm Shield have a 5-up invuln, and you can give them -1 to wound for 1 CP. And with -1 to wound and a 4-up invuln, your opponent can't just put like 2 heavy bolters into your unit to kill them off of an objective. They have to do something actually tangible to kill them. So with that said, I think they are in B tier. I'm putting them ahead of JPI due to results, I think. No, results JPI have more. It's somewhere between JPI and Reverse, so let's do that, I think. Yeah, let's go here. Next, we have Sternguard Veterans. Sternguard Veterans are, in my opinion, the exact same units as assault intercessors because they have one purpose. You use them for the captain missile, and you kill something with death wounds, and that's it. You can try to build a shooting brick with them. I wouldn't recommend it because it's expensive and a waste of your points. Yeah, they are one use gone with the captain. I think they are better than the assault intercessors because we have access to double oath and because they also can do ranged combat with Tigorius. I think that is the one thing that makes them here. Maybe I will actually put both of these units ahead of heavy intercessors. I have to stop coping. I think heavy intercessors are bottom of B. Because they're only here because I like them, okay? Alright. Assault intercessors. I have not updated the icon yet. Excuse me. Assault terminators. Excuse me. Assault terminators. These guys went from flawed and garbage into this is actually pretty decent. For is it 150 or 140? How much do assault terminators cost? Give me a sec. How much do they cost? It's not much. 180? 180 for 5, really? 180? Oh, that's a lot actually. I thought they were cheaper. I haven't used them in a while. Did they go up in points, or did I just not know? What was I thinking was 150, the ballistas? Oh, are regular Terminators 150? No, they are 170, right? Anyway, let's talk about Assault Terminators. Assault Terminators got a buff to their entire stat line. Their Battle Shock test now triggers at a better timing. It now triggers before they fight, I believe, instead of before they charge or something. So you can't do some sort of strats that would be used in the charge phase against them before you get battle shocked. So the timing is better. And in addition to that, the hammers now hit on freeze. In addition, the claws got an extra attack. This is really good. Assault Terminators are at least worth a consideration. I think I'm putting them in C tier still, because it is still difficult to use them. I don't think they're B tier. I have not seen results backing up the fact that Assault Terminators are in this tier. Where did I put them last time? I think I put them in C as well. Or did I? No, I put them in D. Alright. They go from D to C until I see better results. I'm putting them right with the captain, but ahead of the captain. They are a more confident brawler unit. That is completely respectable. The problem is we also have Victrix Guard as a brawler unit, and at least the fact that there are still 4 wounds actually makes them a bit attractive, but the datasheet rule is still lackluster. You don't want to use Terminator Calgar with them, and that's basically what it is. Regular Terminators, on the other hand, are garbage. These guys are terrible. You don't take them. Next. Assault Centurions. Assault Centurions have the exact same problem as aggressors, in which they want to be shooting and they want to be charging because they have good guns and good combat. They are a source of damage, free melee, and they absolutely rip vehicles and monsters apart. It is insane how much damage you do with the sustain hits too. D is not correct, you guys. You have not been paying attention. Assault Centurions are playable in one detachment, and that detachment is the Stormlands. In Stormlands, you can fix the problem, which is the speed, because you get advance and charge. You can give them assault for 1 command point, and they can sit in the Storm Raven, which is how you actually deliver them to a good staging position. In that detachment specifically, Assault Centurions are good, which is why I'm putting them in the bottom of B tier, because that is exactly what they do. You don't have to take them though. Next, we have Centurion Devastators. Centurion Devastators went up in points, which is really painful, but they do work in Blades of Ultramar. Assault Centurions with -1 to wound on an objective are kind of sick, and they do a better job at defending themselves against melee units than Ballistic Dreadnoughts. 175 for 3 is pretty expensive, but it's not that bad. And if you can use the Devastator Doctrine multiple turns, that's actually pretty good. In addition, you still get value from being in Vanguard Spearhead. Because if you want to play the Vanguard, you most likely take some Centurion Devastators. Now, how many points are they now? 175. Okay. Yeah, you can still play Vanguard if you're a boomer like me. But I think they go right next to the other Centurions. I think they go above Heavy Intercessors. Yeah. Death Sense are still a staple. It's just they're just only good in one detachment, and you can play them in another detachment. I'm putting them in B ahead of the Assault Centurions, but you don't see them all that often. I'm putting them in B tier anyway. Alright. Hellblasters! Hellblasters are garbage. These guys are too expensive, they don't have enough shots, their profile is completely irrelevant because nobody plays a bunch of Space Marine bodies you want to kill. You have to do 3 damage or you have to have 80 shots. 2 damage is like not worth taking a unit. They also delete themselves while they attack, which means it is really difficult to get value out of Hellblasters because over the game they will decrease in offense. That said, I can't say they are actually garbage because they are okay. They do at least the thing you pay them to do. They shoot something. I think they are worse than Assault Terminators, but still better than any of the like weird Psycho units. Which is why I will put them in C tier. There's a guy who finished top Nottingham with MSU Hellblasters. Well, he's free to do so. I will not listen to him. Make your own tier list. Dang it. Next, we have Desolation Marines. Desolation Marines, I remember when I said these guys were garbage and unplayable, and over time they have been creeping up and down as a tech piece every now and then. Desolation Marines are not bad, actually. They are niche. You preferably have access to plunging fire to get good use out of them, but honestly, they do the same thing the Phobos Librarian does in a way, where they are a tech piece into a meta where you need them. A WTC specific tech piece. Not only that, Liam, they are also your Eldar tech piece. If the Dark Eldar Codex keeps kicking ass, because the Dark Eldar Codex is really good, then you take Desolation Marines. If you hate elves, take Desolation Marines. They will scrape every single Scourge, Warp Spider, Banshee, Ranger. They will just scrape them off the board. That is what they do. And for that reason, we're putting them in B tier, but I think it's bottom of B. Because you don't take them in every list, you only take them if you absolutely have to, because it is still a heavy investment. Crypt Shadow. I assume your comment was about Hellblasters. They get buffed by characters, but they get buffed worse than any of the units in front of them. For example, Hellblasters with lethal hits are cool and all, but Stern Guard with sustained hits just do more damage into the targets you want to do damage into. And that is why Hellblasters don't have a good target. That's the biggest problem. 40 points for a Marine body? Yeah. Would you drop your first Intercessor for an Incursor? No, but I would drop my Intercessor for an Infiltrator if I have the points. But I would never drop an Incursor for an Infiltrator. Next, we have Devastators. Devastators, I think they were garbage before. Yeah. I haven't seen anything that would convince me otherwise. I guess you can drop them out of reserves to get some rerolls, but... Nope, still bad. I will put them ahead of the... Funny enough, I will actually put them ahead of the Terminators, because at least Devastators can do damage. Alright, D tier. The Firestrike Servo Turret. This one, I am a defender. I am a defender of the Firestrike Servo Turret. And only for one reason. It is a cheap vehicle that doesn't need to be attached to anything. You don't take 2, you take 1. It is 75 points. It actually blocks Bring It Down if you play an all-infantry army and you have it somewhere on the board. It hits on 2s, so the Firestrike Servo Turret doesn't need to be oafed. And it overwatches on a 4, which is just really funny. It doesn't need any support, really. It's twin-linked, it hits on 2, so it doesn't need oaf. It can move, it likes having advance. It's not fast, but it's what it is. And I think it's flawed. People would put this in garbage instinctively, but I think the Firestrike Servo Turret is actually just flawed. And the flaw is just it's not enough impact for what it actually does. I'm putting it in the bottom of C, because, again, I have used these before. They actually do contribute to the game. It's just not ideal to play them. That is all of the infantry-ish kind of stuff. I guess the turret was the first vehicle. So now we go into Dreadnoughts. 2 of them cost as much as a Ballistas, but if you think about it, 2 of them shoot harder than the Ballistas. Would you rather have 4 shots with a twin-linked glass talon, or would you rather have 2 less cannons and 2 missiles? And they have a 2-up saves. Keep this in mind, because people didn't believe me in the last tier list. Firestrike turrets have a 2-up save. Next, we have the Dreadnought, which is the Boxnaut, the OG Dreadnought. This guy is trash. He gives you reroll once to hit for your infantry in an army that has 2 oath of moments, and the infantry doesn't want to be near a 6-inch moving body here. So it is what it is. Yet they have the same amount of wounds as a Ballistas. Yeah, it's I'm telling you, turrets are not bad. They are just flawed. They are not bad. They are just not good. They are right in between. The normal Dreadnought is a garbage model. Nobody plays this thing. It doesn't have any guns that are relevant, and it moves 6 inches, which is just not good enough. Putting it right behind the Tactical Marine. Next, we have the Redemptor Dreadnought. Redemptor Dreadnought have been living in flawed and garbage for a while, but ever since, I think, 1.5 tier lists ago, Redemptor Dreadnoughts have been making a comeback into the game, because -1 damage is really good into Blood Angels and other melee armies. In addition, they went down in points by so much they are now actually affordable. If you took 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts before and you do it now, you save, I think, 45 points, if I have that correct. Yeah. You love when people bring them. Bring it while you bring triple Vindicators. Yeah. This is the difference is blatantly the Redemptor Dreadnought doesn't do as much damage as the Vindicator, but it's tankier in a way. And you have seen Redemptors all the time, especially because they have a bunch of shots. I think Redemptor Dreadnoughts were especially popular with AdMech as the best army in the game, because Redemptors have so many bullets, you could usually just shoot your plasma into a hard target with the Oath, and you would just shoot all of your bad bullets into a bunch of the trash infantry. And because the Redemptor has so much output in like nonsense, it would usually dent a 10-man unit of some stuff. The plasma needs more shots, I agree. And if you saw my battle report, I have a big problem with strength 9. Shooting Redemptors at tanks, even with +1 to wound, is really frustrating. Because you need to hit that 4. That 4 to wound is your arch enemy. I still have to put them in A tier though. Because Redemptor Dreadnoughts have been showing up in competitive lists all the time. People have been going undefeated with Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Redemptor Dreadnoughts are just something you will see in the metagame, so be prepared for it. No, Michael, can't do it. We have too many undefeated grand tournaments. You need to check the list. They are performing, so you do have to respect it. I'm putting them in A tier, and I think I'm putting them ahead of the... I think I'm putting them right behind all of the Victrix stuff. Right here. Timmy's can't beat them. A tier for -1 damage. Bottom of A, nah, we middle of A. I'm not giving you an intercessor over a Redemptor. Alright. Next is the Brutalis Dreadnought. The Brutalis Dreadnought, funny enough, is exactly the same as the Assault Centurions and Aggressors. You have a gun, you have a melee, you want to use both, but you can't unless you play Stormlands. I think the Brutalis Dreadnought at least works better in a Stormlands than Aggressors. So I'm just putting the Brutalis Dreadnought with the Assault Centurions because they're essentially doing the same thing. You transport them with a Storm Raven, you have Advance and Charge, and then you pay 1 CP for Advance and Shoot, and then you do your mortal wounds, and that's what it is. Better in Blood Angels? Absolutely. I think they're worse than Assault Centurions, though, because I like going through walls more than I like having mortal wounds on the charge that never happen, because it requires a die roll. Okay. The Ballistus Dreadnought. Ballistus Dreadnoughts went up to 150. And there are plenty of people who don't like Ballistus Dreadnoughts. Last time, I think they still made it to B tier, but I have since come to the conclusion they are still good. Don't Ballistus with a passion, 150 points, 2 short for it doesn't matter. One Ballistus doesn't do anything. 2 Ballistus will heavily damage something. 3 Ballistus will kill something. That's what it is. The Ballistus Dreadnought still does the thing. It is your fire support piece that doesn't need Oath of Moment if it doesn't shoot into anything hard. 2 Ballistus won't do anything. That's not correct. That is mathematically not true. You need to use Storm of Fire more often on your Ballistus. The way to think about the Ballistus Dreadnought, don't think of this as I will point one of these at a tank and the tank is dead piece. You will look at the Ballistus as this is my fire support and it is tough. Yeah, this is just what it is. The Ballistus Dreadnought is a 4 OC model. If you play 3 of them as a unit of 3, you have 12 OC on your objective. If your opponent kills one of them and exposes a battle tank, the 2 Ballistus with buffs will kill the battle tank back. And then you still hold the objective. Triple Redemptor, triple Ballistas. If you play Iron Hands, that's not even bad. Yeah. Double Ballistas plus Hammer Strike is the way. Auranian spoken like a Stormlands player. I respect it. Michael runs 2 Ballisto, 1 Reaper, 1 Storm, 2 Windy. Respectable. I don't run a Storm Speeder because I don't like it in Gladius, but I will get to that once we have that. You once killed an armature at full health. I did that last 2 weeks ago. I played against a Dark Angels list with Redemptor Dreadnoughts and a Redemptor on 10 wounds after a grenade actually died to the high last cannon. I rolled boxcars for damage. That was really funny. I rolled boxcars for damage. I hit, I wounded, no safe pass, and I rolled double sixes for damage. And it just exploded. That was... My opponent actually gave up. I was playing at his house, we were doing a test game, and he saw that, and he was like, I'm done. That was that. Purge the elves. Yeah. The Ballistas Dreadnought is still in A tier, I think. I think it's going right with the Redemptor. Because people are still playing both of them. I'm putting it behind the Redemptor because today I saw Ines Wilson win a tournament with Redemptors. The Invicta Tactical Warsuit. This thing is garbage. It's really bad. But it could be good. So maybe it's not in D tier. What does it do? It has Scout 8. It has Smoke. It has a rule that doesn't matter. And it has a bunch of guns. It gets better with Wardens. It doesn't infiltrate though. It only scouts. Is that really better with Wardens? Yeah, the Invictor, I guess. It has a better melee fist than the Redemptor, which is probably still a print error, but Games Workshop doesn't care. It's Phobos. Exactly, yes, it can use... it can use the up-down strat in Vanguard. It can't use the reactive move, but it can use the up-down strat. That is true. I gave these things a try when the chapter-approved deck came out in summer, and I didn't like them at all. I have so far not seen an Invictor Warsuit do something in a competitive game, and I think the problem is points. If these things were like 100 points, you would probably take them. Because at that point, they are just irritating enough to kill for a toughness 8 vehicle that it would be okay to bring some of them. Alternatively, they need a better datasheet rule. Yeah, toughness 8 and a free up save is pretty weak. I'm putting them in flawed, and I think they are with behind the Infernus Marines. Because it's a points problem. 100 points, they are like Death Guard bloat drones and will be full meta. I don't agree. Keep in mind, Death Guard bloat drones actually do damage, and Invictors don't do damage. I'm pretty sure an Invictor Warsuit doesn't kill 5 Warp Spiders. I'm pretty sure that is actually what happens if you shoot 5 Warp Spiders with an Invictor. They just survive. Alright. Next, we come to my favorite models. Kind of. We have the Storm Speeders. Let's talk about the Hail Strike first. The Storm Speeder Hail Strike is actually shit. It is really bad. It has anti-infantry shooting, but none of the guns are actually good. Like, it has the small Gatling instead of the big Gatling. It's not twin-linked. It doesn't have the bolters from the Gladiator Reaper. And the buff is +1 AP against infantry, which is not where I want my +1 AP to go. I would like that to go on the big targets. So unless your metagame is explicitly Dark Angels 500 times per round, this isn't good. Isn't infantry? It is infantry. Oh, excuse me, yes. It is also beasts and mounted. Yes, Shadow Warrior, you are correct, but it you know what I mean. Realistically speaking, you can't do it against monsters and vehicles, which is where you want it to go. I'm putting the Speeder Hail Strike. I think I'm putting it ahead of the Jump Pack Captain, because at bare minimum it is a vehicle with deep strike, and technically the buff could be good in a specific situation. And that's what that is. Next we have the Stormspeeder Hammer Strike. The Hammer Strike is goated. Michael loves these things. Stormlands players love these things. I played one of them in Vanguard way back in the day before it went down from 170 to like thing. Yeah, the Stormspeeder Hammer Strike goes in A tier. Bottom of S. No, I'm giving you A. I'm giving you A though. I'm putting it ahead of both of the Dreadnoughts. Probably not. I'm putting it with the Dreadnoughts, I think. Yeah. Yeah, these things are so good. Yeah. Stormspeeder Hammer Strike is really good. The reason I'm not putting them ahead of the Dreadnoughts is because you shouldn't play them in Gladius. I know a bunch of you guys do play them in Gladius, but I disagree. I can one trap Victrix. I mean, you can try and then you don't hit anything and you wound on freeze. But yeah. No, it's still an A tier model. The Hammer Strike is really good. Excellent model. And if you play one in Gladius, honestly, I'm not saying that because I think it's bad. I'm saying that because I don't have space in my list. And I have a CP strat for ignore cover, and I don't need the Hammer Strike to shoot ignore cover. Really good model, A tier, has a bunch of anti-tank shots, has deep strike, and strips cover, and stripping cover is usually the same thing as that thing is now dead. Alright. Last, we have the Thunderstrike. The Thunderstrike went down in points quite significantly. It hits on 2s, and it gives you +1 to wound against vehicles and monsters. Shadow Warrior, Thunderstrike, probably the same as Hammer Strike. We have access to the... I think you mean Hail Strike, right? I disagree for one reason. The Thunderstrike... oh yeah, you're getting to that point, yes. +1 to wound against hard targets is really good. It hits on 2, so it doesn't need Oath. And it is really good if you don't take Gilliman. Yeah. Thank you for watching, Bobby. Thank you for tuning into the tier list. We are approaching the end here. And it looks like I will make it under 3 hours this time. Unless you guys keep asking, yeah. All of the speeders are good in the new Orbital Assault. I would disagree because I think that detachment is god-awful. But you pop off, Pyro Bubbles. May the Emperor bless you in your orbital strike endeavors. Yeah, I think the Thunderstrike is actually in B tier. I'm putting it... I think I'm putting it below the Desolation Marines ahead of the Librarian. Because if you don't play a Gilliman list and you have a Calgar in your list, I think this thing is fine. Next, we have the Gladiators. First of all, we have the Gladiator Lancer. I don't like Gladiator Lancers. I don't think they're good. I think they are okay in Gladius. In Ironstorm. But I don't think the Lancer is actually cutting it anymore. They are taken constantly, but they are garbage, and they don't win any games. When was the last time a first place Space Marine list had a Lancer in it? They have a good floor for inexperienced players. Michael, that is a good argument, and that's why I will hear you out. What do you think where they should go? I was about to drop them in C tier, next to Aggressors. Are you advocating for B? Because I can be convinced they are B. I could be convinced they're B. B? Okay. I would put the Gladiator Lancer ahead of the Centurions in B tier. It is an anti-tank model. In Ironstorm, it is fine. In Ironstorm, you get the double rerolls, and they have low volume. People will get frustrated playing with them because they never hit anything into an invuln save. But Michael has a good point. People just joining the hobby just want to have some anti-tank, and having them in your list is good for a new player. And again, it's not like to be as roughhousing as I can formulate this thought. I would rather have a Gladiator Lancer in my list than blood in my urine. I'm not excited to have a Lancer in my list, but Shadowy Warrior, there's a problem with that argument because Ballistus Dreadnoughts exist. They do the same thing. I actually think Ballistus Dreadnoughts are better at killing tanks than Lancers because you have 4 shots instead of 2. You don't care for Ballistic, but the problem is you are wrong. And you are verifiably and mathematically wrong. Next. The Gladiator Reaper. The Gladiator Reaper is your tech piece, and it kills infantry. Infantry, begone. There is nothing in this game that survives a Gladiator Reaper shooting it. Last time I put it in bottom of A, and I remember that was a big discussion because people were not believing me. The thing is, man, 20 Poxwalkers, 20 Orc Boys, 20 of anything. If you see a unit of 20 infantry models, you are just losing the game if you try to kill that with a bunch of company hero melee attacks. It is just not feasible to handle that problem. The Gladiator Reaper is your backup tech piece for that, and even in a hard target like a knight, you can still shoot like 7 damage into a knight. If you have Oath and Death Wounds and +1 AP, you can still just do some damage into a knight to help contribute. It murders AdMech, it murders elves, and if any of you remember when Death Guard was the best army in the game for like an entire summer, I did not lose a single game into Death Guard with Ultramarines. I didn't lose a single game into Death Guard, period. I went to 2 Super Majors and 1 RTT, and I played against Death Guard 4 times, plus I had 2 practice games into Death Guard against people who are really good, and I did not lose a single one of those games. And the reason why is because the Gladiator Reaper just killed Death Route units. Michael has an exactly correct point. The Gladiator Reaper shoots at an infantry unit and it dies. Yeah, you can Overwatch Eldar and just get a bunch of sustained hits. It's really funny. And that's what it is. I think the Gladiator Reaper is... When are you not dealing with that ability? Well, Eldar can only do it once. They can only do it once per phase. So they have to... If they only move 1 unit, you're out of luck. But if they have to move 2 things, or they forget and you gotcha them... Yeah, the Gladiator Reaper is a tech piece, and I think I'm dropping it out of A tier, but not out of disrespect. I just think it is a tech piece and you don't have to take it, but man, you will like it if you take it. I think it's the top of B. I think that, yeah, Michael got it exactly right. I think the Gladiator Reaper is the top of B tier. It's a tech piece, but you will be happy it's there. Good stuff, Gladiator Reaper. And, of course, in Ironstorm, the Reaper is insane. Next, we have the Valiant. The Gladiator Valiant is flawed, but it's honestly not bad. It has a bunch of Last Talon and Multi-Melter shots. It's really good in Black Templars. It's not garbage for one reason, Shadowy, because the points. The Valiant is actually pretty cheap. Might see play versus Catan, we'll have to see. Maybe. I'm not sold on that. I'm not sold on that one. There's no niche for it. Eradicators are just better at that, I agree. I'm not arguing for B tier. I'm arguing to not be in D tier. I think the Valiant is better than anything in D tier. For that reason, I think the Valiant is flawed and goes above Hellblasters. It used to be much worse before. You are arguing about the purpose, Shadowy Warrior. The purpose is it's cheap. The purpose is it is cheap. Next one on the app station. We have the Predator Destructor. Give me a second. Here we go. The Predator Destructor is probably exactly the same as the Valiant. It shoots infantry, but it shoots them worse than the Gladiator Reaper, in my opinion. I don't really respect the way you can use these things. When they were really cheap in Ironstorm, I liked them as your quote-unquote scoring units. You would use the Predator just as your action monkey. And it would obviously contribute with the rerolls and stuff. You have the last cannons. Predators just die, that is true. That said, too expensive by 15. Yeah, I do think the Predator Destructor is flawed. With elite armies more prevalent now, they are essential. Why don't you just take a Gladiator Reaper? The death wounds of the Reaper do more damage than the autocannon. Keep in mind, this is not Chaos Space Marines. In Chaos Space Marines, they're good because you can Dark Pact. That makes a huge difference. Because you will not always have Oath on the thing you're shooting with the Predator. Trying to roll for 6s is a bad strategy. You can plan for it. Shadowy Warrior, you did not understand how the Gladiator Reaper works. It's not about the death wounds. It's about the fact that you are rolling 50 dice. It is just volume of fire. Yeah. And CSM doesn't have a better option. That's true level. That's really true. I think it's flawed and below the Valiant. Because of points. Shadowy Warrior, you are not listening to me. The Gladiator Reaper has 12 shots on the main gun. You have 18 shots, 16 shots on your Tempest Bolters. You have 6 extra shots on your Top Gun, and you have the D3 shots from the missile. And you put Storm of Fire on it, and you put Oath on it, and the Gladiator Reaper will kill an entire unit of Deathshot Terminator from full to dead. With consistency. The 18 shots on the Tempest Bolter are AP2 ignore cover in Death Doctrine. That is so much damage. The Predator doesn't do that. The Predator will shoot 2 last cannons at a Terminator, and one of them will miss, and the other one will not go through the invuln save. And then you have the autocannon, which doesn't do anything because it's AP1. That's the difference. The Predator is not good at its job. That's the problem. However, here's a model that is good at its job. The Predator Annihilator is actually pretty good. The Predator Annihilator, you see all the time in competitive play. This thing is the real replacement of the Lancer and the Ballistus Dreadnought. The Predator Annihilator is surprisingly competent at being your oath hog, basically. The strength 14 last cannon with +1 to wound and twin linked is really consistent. The reroll damage is excellent to smoke all of those targets. And usually you poke this thing out, you shoot the Hunter Killer missile and all of the last cannons, and if it dies, you trade it. And the missile is gone anyway. So once per game, you have 46 damage, and then afterwards, if it's still alive, you have 3d6 damage. The Gladiator Annihilator is really good. Bastian Krie, one of the best Space Marine players in Germany, is using 2 of these as his battle tanks in every list. And it has proven itself, because he keeps winning super majors with that. Yeah, Annihilators are pretty good. Yeah. A good alternative if you don't have the points for the Lancer. They are better than the Lancer, in my opinion. The problem with the Lancer is the Lancer has 2 shots. And the Predator has 4 shots once and 3 shots going forward. And that doesn't sound like much, but it's exactly the same thing as the Ballistus. With +1 to wound and ignore cover and full rerolls to hit, you just want to have more shots instead of better shots. Most of the time, you just want to have more shots. And that's what it is. The Predator Annihilator goes into B tier, and I want to put it right with the Tech Marine, I think. You don't see this thing all the time, but have some respect for it when you do. The Lancer is better into more targets than the Annihilator. That is blatantly incorrect. The Predator is better into everything with an invulnerable save. Flat out. Every single time. Next. Oh, Mike, are you ready? Dear Battle Brothers, in chat, we have come to the conclusion that the peak design of everything is not evolving into a crab. It is the good old Vindicator. I mean, what can you say about the damn Vindicator? It's everywhere. Yeah. It shoots, it does the damage. It's a 2-up save. It has the AP3. You will always roll 1 shot on it. It is what it is, but man, the Vindicator just does the thing, right? Yeah, Vindicator, great into Catan, better into Victrix, above... okay, no. Okay, now, do we talk about S tier here? I want to say no. I think the Vindicator is the moneymaker, but I don't think it's S tier. And I would like to cite my reasoning for that as you don't play the Vindicator in every detachment and not in every list. Because Stormlands doesn't use Vindicators. And a bunch of people going for more stat-checky lists are using Redemptor Dreadnoughts instead. And that's basically it. The Vindicator is the GOAT, though. The Vindicator is the GOAT. You can spam them. They're just really good. And I would like to put them ahead of the Victrix Guard in A tier. But not in S. Just because you don't play it in every detachment. And we have seen top-performing lists not take any. The Vindicator is the Trump in the shooting mirror. You said you spam them, sure, that's a point in its favor. It is, but you don't spam it in every list. Yeah, it's above Victrix. I think it's the best unit in A tier, but I don't think it's in S tier. Next. From the heights of the mountains to the depths of the earth, we have found another really bad model. Welcome to the Whirlwind. It's an indirect firing piece that does 0 damage. It will never kill 5 elves behind a wall because it doesn't have enough shots. It will never kill 10 models behind a wall because it can't roll enough shots to kill to kill 10 models behind a wall. And the rule it has is something about battle shocks. Whirlwinds are garbage. They are horrendously bad. And I don't even entertain the idea that they are better than the Fire Strike Servo turret. I'm putting them straight in the bin. Right here in D tier. The Whirlwind is out. Next, we have the regular Land Raider. Regular Land Raider has some shooting that isn't amazing. It's not bad, but it transports 14 models since the change, I believe. I believe it got changed, right? Did it get changed? B for Timmy? No. The regular Land Raider is not a B tier. No, guys, not the regular one. 12? I don't... It's not the Redeemer, Michael. It's the normal Land Raider. Okay, 12. So it doesn't actually transport anything good. It has okay shooting, but not amazing shooting, and you have better options. I think the Land Raider is flawed, and it's not even close, because you never see these. The one thing I like about the normal Land Raider, it is cheap. For what you get, it is not that expensive. Toughness 12, 2-up save, a bunch of shots. It's not bad. It's just flawed. It should do something else. Also, the fact it only moves 10 inches. That actually hurts it a lot. That counts as a flaw. I will put the normal Land Raider ahead of Hell Blasters, I think. Yeah. Next, we have the Land Raider Crusader. That was C tier, by the way. The Land Raider Crusader. This thing is also flawed because it doesn't have any important guns. It can transport 16 models. Garbage? No, garbage it's not. I will advocate one purpose for the Land Raider Crusader to exist, and that purpose is actually Oath of Moment with Twin Linked. Just like the Storm Raven, the Land Raider Crusader is really good as a spamming thing. You can shoot a lot of stuff and you can deliver some Centurions with the Crusader. That's basically all I got for you, and it will not save it from low tier, but I think it's not hitting the garbage bin. It's just a transport, and it is too expensive for a transport, but it actually has enough output. We don't use it for a reason, though. We also don't use the Jump Pack Captain for a reason. That doesn't mean the Jump Pack Captain is garbage. It just is too flawed to use. The Land Raider Crusader is just not good enough to use. I will put it behind the Chaplain on bike. Here we go. This one is a bit interesting. We have a Land Raider Redeemer. The Land Raider Redeemer is actually really, really good. It got a point drop a while ago, and nobody has really used it, and suddenly the Land Raider Redeemer went 8th place or something at the World Championships. Mark Hurtle and his triple Land Raiders is going wild. Yeah. Yeah. The Land Raider Redeemer is really good. Yeah, it directly countered Jack Harpster's Blood Angels. Though he played Sisters in that event. But yeah, the Redeemer is really good into Blood Angels. It's really good into any melee matchup. You don't want to see Fire Dragons, which might make it actually worse once Necrons come into the field and everyone is running around with Melter Guns again. But A Redeemer in the middle of the table threatening Overwatch into every direction is a pain to deal with. The Redeemer also doesn't need Oath of Moment, which makes it really good in a Calgar focused list without Gilliman. And for that reason, I think the Land Raider goes high up. I do agree, though, it is not a staple. It is something that is good in a certain build, but it isn't like the best thing ever. With Oath, it wounds every tank in the game on a 4. That is also true. Except other Land Raiders. Yeah. We're putting the Land Raider Redeemer in B tier, and I think it is roughly where the Predator Annihilator is. Tied with the Reaper. You want to go higher? You want to go higher up? Below JPI? Yeah, okay, I can see it. I will put it ahead of Titus, but below Reavers, I think. That's where my conclusion goes. Alright, those were all the Land Raiders. We are coming to a close here. The regular Repulsor. The regular Repulsor is flawed. It has a bunch of guns. It has a funky rule to get back inside if you get charged. But it is really big, so it's difficult to move around. And it just dies to anything. You can just get Uri of Ventress instead as a transport. Repulsor. OC5, 14 seats, value machine. Epic Gamer wants to make a point here. I will hear you out. I will hear you out on the regular Repulsor. I have not seen one of these in a top performing list, and I think that has a reason. I'm not arguing for garbage, I'm arguing for C. I don't think this is a B tier model. I think it's a bit too weak. The flaw is honestly just the toughness. Top of C? I do think top of C is fair. I think it's better than suppressors. Like very top, better than aggressors, you are probably correct. I would concur with top of C, but I don't think it's seen enough play to be in B tier. Next is the Repulsor Executioner. One of my least favorite models in the whole game because it doesn't have a rule. But the Repulsor Executioner has a lot of guns. It has a lot of guns. It shoots really hard. And it shoots a lot. And by a lot, I mean 2 of these, you can probably go and get lunch while your opponent is rolling all of the shots out of the Repulsor Executioner. It averaged 8 wounds into... excuse me. It averaged 8 wounds into a Catan, and that is why Ines Wilson was probably considering 2 of them. Because 2 of them with Oath, it's carried by double Oath, that's fair, but it is a gunline model. It is a gunline model, and I think it deserves respect based on the performances and how much hype it gets. I don't like playing with Repulsor Executioners, but the Catan meta might need them at some point. For that reason, I would like to go into B tier with them. I don't think you take them in every list. Yeah, results don't lie. We haven't seen wins yet, though. We haven't seen Repulsor Executioner first place, killed every Necron player results yet. Around the Predator, I think it's higher than that. I think the Repulsor Executioner, based on results, has to be ahead of the Redeemer. So I'm putting it in B tier, and I'm putting it ahead of the Redeemer. Honestly, I might have to put it below Tigurius. Yeah. I might have to put it below Tigorius because results speak for themselves. Finally, here we go. We have the transports. First up is the Impulsor. The Impulsor is really good. You can advance and disembark, which is good for secondary play. You get a 5-up invulnerable save to make melter guns really sad if they try to kill you. And you have a firing deck of 6 seats, which you can use for some stuff. Impulsors are really good. Impulsors are the Ford Ranger for the win. Yeah, Impulsors are honestly really good. They also have 11 wounds, which is actually really annoying for a bunch of profiles. Yeah, I do also think Impulsors are really good. You don't see them all the time, but they are good. I'm not arguing for S. Because if you play a melee focused list, especially now with Victrix Guard and Sicarius for the combo, you probably always take a Repulsor. You don't take it outside of Gladius, though. I don't think you bring an Impulsor in Stormlands or Vanguard or... I guess Vanguard is still on the board. Yeah, let's go A. Ba ba ba. I think we go ahead of Eradicators, but below the Gravis Captain. That's where I would put them. Next, we have the Rhino. The Rhino is unplayable because it can't transport anything. All the units that can be transported by a Rhino are in the garbage tier, and therefore the Rhino will also be in the garbage tier. It is probably the best unit in the garbage tier. Probably, but I'm putting it ahead of the Whirlwind just because I hate the Whirlwind. Yeah, the Rhino doesn't do it. Next, we have the Razorback. The Razorback gives reroll wounds on disembark, but it can only transport the trash units, so we're putting it behind the Devastator squad, because that's the only way you will ever use one. Don't use the firstborn units. Alright. Let's talk about the drop pod. The Rhino can't Rhino. Let's talk about the drop pod. The drop pod is terrible. The drop pod is despicable. I'm pretty sure we threw it in the garbage last time. It made its way almost into F tier. But Aurinian is in the chat. And because the drop pod detachment exists, it is the bottom of D again. It is horrendously bad. You will not play it, but in a gesture of goodwill, I'm putting the drop pod ahead of the aircraft. And that's what it is. D tier for the drop pod. The last datasheet we can talk about is the Storm Raven gunship. There's a reason why I didn't put the Storm Raven into the aircraft tier with all the other aircraft, because the Storm Raven is actually one of the best vehicles in the Codex. It has a lot of guns. It is really fast. It can transport models. It has twin-linked weapons, so it's really good with Oath. And that's what it is. Def A slept on a... No, it is. And not, it can't be played in Gladius. Yeah, it makes Stormlands work. That is what it is. You play for those of you who don't know and not watching for the first time, and if you're still here after 3 hours, thanks. The Storm Raven, you don't play this in any detachment except for the Stormlands. Because in Stormlands, you get -1 to hit and wound. And you could do it in... you could play it in Blades of Ultramar to get the -1 to wound. But it is the Stormlands. It is... you play this in Stormlands because of the strat. And it has -1 damage, which is really cool. It's really fast because you play it with the hover instead of the aircraft rule, so it's just a normal vehicle. And it has a transport capacity for reactive move stuff. The Storm Raven goes into A tier and it is ahead of the Redeemer. It is probably right next to the Repulsor Executioner because the Storm Raven is the reason why Stormlands is good. And I think I respect Stormlands enough to put it ahead. It can't be an A tier because you probably don't play it in any other detachment. If you are out there playing Blades of Ultramar with a Storm Raven, please write a comment. It's better than Tigorius? Honestly, it probably is. I agree. I agree with you, Michael. I think Tigorius has to step back for a bit. Would much rather have Tigi below JPI. I see what you mean, Michael, and I kind of agree with you. The reason why I don't do it is because Tigorius is actually showing up in winning lists. Not often, because Tigorius isn't popular, but Tigorius actually wins GTs all the time. It's one of those sneaky ones, one of the sneaky models. It's always like, hey, it's Tigorius. All right, and with this, we have a tier list. I penalized the Stormhaven for being very good in one detachment, but took drop pods out of trash because you might play them. They are not out of trash. They are still in garbage. I did not take it out of the trash. I left it in the trash bag. All right. And with this, we have another tier list. Yeah, the drop pod can, per definition, not go into the aircraft detachment because it's not aircraft. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, Elo-san. I have not ignored you in the Twitch chat and all the other Twitch chatters here. We have been heatingly discussing all of the data sheets in Codex Space Marines, and yeah, I'm wondering what's gonna happen with Ultramarines going forward. Will we be able to match the Necrons? Will the Blood Angels continue to run us over? I don't know. How about we find out together? Next painting project, 15 JPI and Wardens. Why are you painting 15 Wardens? You can only play 6 of them. Right. Battle Brothers, please. We are ultra opinionated, and I will be providing a full tier list. Oh, excuse me, let me zoom out so we can see the entire list. Here you go. Take your screenshots, Battle Brothers. And with this, I wish you all a wonderful day, a good night, whatever applies to you. Courage and honor. We march from a crag. Stay on the channel for more content, and we march for McCraig.